The Unex Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full-spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unex Network website at unexnetwork.com. That's unexnetwork.com. It's time for the Unex News. Extraterrestrials, time anomalies, dimensions, remote viewing, UFOs, UAPs, and USOs, ghostly encounters, abductions, Bigfoot, and more. Your end of the week news source for everything unexplained. Here is your host for the Unex News Podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unex News. I'm your host, Margie K., and we're here for another fun, interesting, and weird evening on Unex News, because tonight we're going to be focusing on time travel, among other things. If you've been listening to my show for any time at all, you know that I have had some very strange experiences with time. So we know, of course, in our daily lives, we live in a linear world. We go with the seasons. We know when certain things happen. We know winter is coming, spring is coming. And so all of that is linear, but some strange things can happen with time and potentially time travel as well. So tonight we're going to be focusing on that. But my guest this evening is Michelle Derochers. She has been professionally and actively researching the unexplained and successfully working in media for the past 2 decades, with her area of study focused primarily in the paranormal, specifically on malevolent hauntings and attachments. She is highly versed in many subject matters within her field, and as an extraterrestrial experiencer, has expanded her knowledge to studies to include ufology and other areas considered high strangeness. Michelle is co-producer for the very popular radio show, The Outer Realm, to which she co-hosts with her friend and teammate, Amelia Pisano. Welcome to the program, Michelle.
Hi, Margie. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here with you tonight.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. We were talking about some strange things with time, and we'll get into that. We will get into that. But I'd like to get into a little bit of your history before we start. How did you get interested in the paranormal in general?
Well, I think it found me. I've been intuitive my entire life. I come from a family of intuitives, and I could essentially see dead people from a very young age. And luckily, my family was very understanding about it, so they nurtured it. I didn't really lose it. I didn't really fear it a whole lot. Aside from that, I've come to find out I was also an experiencer, which made sense because my grandfather had a telescope, watched the stars. I grew up north where the only satellite, I think you might have had one satellite that belonged to the US at that time. So when you saw something in the sky, chances are you really did. And as I got older, I would see, I saw craft land one evening just beyond the horizon, military, helicopters all there the next day around the valley. It was crazy, and took it into adulthood, and had generally pretty good experiences.
So I can see why you would have an interest in UFOs.
Yeah.
Have you found that you are an experiencer? Did you discover that later in life?
Well, things really started making sense for me. I think a lot started coming back to me because it's almost as though I just telepathically said, okay, I'm ready for this. Because having a show, as you know, you meet people from all walks of life. And I would have guests such as yourself coming on and talking about things. I'm going, that sounds really familiar. Why does that sound familiar to me? So I learn from every guest that comes on, and I love that. I just love learning. So it's very exciting for me. So I just telepathically put it out there. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this. But just before that happened, I was filming, and one night I was coming home, and something came over the car from the river, which had a 450-foot drop. So at first I thought, is that a deer? Because it went over a stop sign, which, as you know, they're really tall. I'm like, there's just wasn't any room for it to pick up speed to leap that high. And it was iridescent and shimmering. And when we stopped the vehicle, I looked over, there was nothing there. I'm just like, okay. So then things started happening, flashes of light just coming through the bedroom, bouncing out. I woke up, a few times, and it's my head being touched, and I'm feeling all this energy. And then one night, as I was getting ready to go to sleep, I'm looking over, and there's a gray in front of me, and about 4 feet, and I wasn't really sure how I felt about it. I just went, nope. And I rolled over. I was just like, I am not ready for this. Nope. I need notice.
The movie Nope.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need notice for stuff like this, people. You cannot just show up and expect, So I handled it pretty well and realized at that point, okay, obviously there's a connection probably from childhood, from lineage, because when I spoke to my mother in great lengths, I said, did Grandpa have experiences? And she goes, oh, there's experiences on both sides of the family, and they talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Wow, on both sides.
Here I am. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of ufologists believe that this sort of thing follows DNA bloodlines. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. I know it goes back bloodlines because I know a good chunk of my lineage. So I definitely know that there was contact. Not at all surprised about it. And, I think I found my comfort level with it. And I could see why. When you know your background, if you take the time, if as an experiencer, to find out why they would be interested in your lineage and your DNA, then the pieces of the puzzle start to fit. And they sure did for me.
So the big question then is, why are they interested in you and your family?
Well, I think it's because we have a very, again, rich lineage. I come from a lineage of Rollo the Viking that goes back into the Sinclair line. I have lineage that goes back to Knights Templars. And it's weird because my grandmother on my mom's side and my grandfather on my mom's side, their lines have crisscrossed through time together.
Mhm.
Because on my grandfather's family, they were knights that fought alongside in William the Conqueror's private army, private guard. So it was weird. Knights, like his wife, being the great grandmother, would have been part of the court of the king of France at that time. It really went through like a whole array of different things. And, when you start, and that's just part of the lineage. Like I've come to find out so much more. There's just so much. And it doesn't include past life stuff, because I really feel that a lot of time you can end up with a lot of DNA memory imprinting. You could have, maybe we reincarnate back into our lines. Like there's just stuff that's weird with me, but I'm weird. So, but it's still a journey. And I've had even, ET have said, yes, they have acknowledged some of this. And it's like, okay, I'm on the right track. I can keep digging, which is important. I love to keep digging.
Well, that explains why I feel a strong connection to you.
Oh.
Because I'm a direct descendant of Sir Henry Sinclair.
Woo.
So we're cousins.
I could connect you with a lot of people.
All I have to do is sick my daughter on this. She's our genealogist in the family, and she has this incredible. You're probably already in the genealogy tree.
Well, probably through through the line somewhere in there. Yeah.
But I think you're right about the DNA connection following the bloodlines, and the Knights Templar big into this. They know the secrets.
And keepers of sacred knowledge and relics.
Yeah. And also, it seems that along that bloodline is also certain abilities are prevalent. One of them being using their third eye, using psychic abilities and intuitive abilities. So, gosh, then how, of course, you're interested in all paranormal subjects as I am. And because once you go down the rabbit hole, you're pretty much going to be linking one thing to another.
Right.
So as far as like paranormal goes, ghosts, spirits, do you have a connection with the other side? Can you speak to spirits, talk to them? Do you see them?
From the time I was a child, I've always had crazy experiences, and not so great experiences, And this is where you see the real blend of the two coming together, the paranormal and being an experiencer, because I had this crazy attachment, really like sort of malevolent. Now I think back as an experiencer and I think, who was I really in communication with? And was a lot of it out of frustration? Or did I have just maybe a race of, was I dealing with a reptilian perhaps? Because I've had people, I have so many amazing gifted friends from around the world who are amazing mediums who have seen like even draconians around me, light beings, grays. I mean, there's a whole mix of everything. So what was I really experiencing? This is where the journey sort of takes this turn because there's so many different parts of, let's say, a haunting or attachment that mimic being an experiencer or a contactee, like almost down to, sleep paralysis, for example. They would just come under different names. Odors of sulfur. Well, there's a demon, sulfur. Well, so is an abduction. Like you just have this mix and similarities of everything crossing over. So you have to ask yourself, if you're a person of faith, would you think demonic? Would you think all, like the paranormal terms? Whereas if you're a ufologist, would you think more along the lines of the terms of ufology?
Yeah. We're talking about the same experiences.
Yes.
Same subject matter, but using different terminology.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And understanding.
How
do you feel about the negative side of all of this? The dark side, we'll say. Is that something that can be pushed away, kept at bay?
You mean in ufology as an experiencer?
Yes.
Or, it's really difficult because I know there are people out there who have really horrific experiences. I then have to ask myself, where are they getting the experiences from? Is it really ET or is it us? Like, is it human? Without flagging any words. I'm just you don't know, because I can only speak for myself and people that I have come into contact with who have had pretty good experiences. They seem to be very lighthearted experiences where they're like, I can tell you when I've communicated, they feels loving and you feel so emotional in a good way. But I don't want to discount anybody else's experiences. Some people are having terrible experiences, and those experiences are coming from somewhere. But I can tell you, and people who I have interviewed, when they're describing some of their experiences, it sounds almost like when they're describing the ship and the area, it sounds more primitive than, let's say, an extraterrestrial experiencer The differences in the environment are very different. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't have those type of memories, so I don't know. But I can only speak for, myself and those I've been in contact with.
Yeah, I'm very similar experiences for me, mostly positive,
Yeah.
only a couple of what I would term negative or
Mhm.
or or scary. The
Right.
rest have all been very, very positive and helpful,
Mhm.
and I've even had some healing experiences with extraterrestrials. Have
Mm.
you had that experience?
I don't know if I've had healing. I can tell you that I don't really get sick aside from a cold
Oh,
on occasion. I don't. I can tell you that I'm sure I'm lucky. I'm one of these people that will sometimes, as much as I'm aware pretty much of everything going on around me, if I'm very preoccupied, I'd step in front of a curb in front of a bus. I really would. I'm just,
okay.
you know, I'm just, my mind is always going 100 miles a minute. And I can tell you that when I'm supposed to find something, all of a sudden I find it. So, for example, if I'm researching something, I'm just like, show me. That's all I have to say, show me. All of a sudden, I am on all these different things. Just, I'll go on one place to research and read, and I've taken it to directions, and I'm like, I get my answer, right? And I
Yeah,
cross-reference things to bloody death. It's just yeah. People look at me like, why do you have to just keep doing that? It's ridiculous. I'm like, because it's me. It's part of my research, my how my brain works. You want real
yeah,
answers. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. Luckily, I have a lot of old books and stuff, but it's just keeping up with the present. You almost have to go to the internet, right?
yeah, yeah,
And I buy a lot of books, but I find that, yourself, you'll get downloads. Like I woken up with hands on my head, and you wake up going, well, that was interesting. You just seem to know things when you're supposed to know it.
yeah. It is amazing how the universe works. When you put your intention out there
Yes.
and really, really want to and focus on that, the
Yes.
answer will come.
Exactly. It
And
comes just like
yeah,
that. Right.
yeah, it does. And
It's,
and this is a little bit off topic, but what about manifesting things that you want? Because I know, I can tell that you do that.
I do.
I do it and it works.
It
So,
does.
how about you?
It does, and but I think it's like the universe is kind of like, because I'm kind of just like, yeah, give me $1 million. It's not going to happen,
Right,
right?
right.
I think you have to be modest in what you're asking for. I find
Mhm.
if I'm looking for something specific, like let's say, everybody knows like I love like really old Gothic revival pieces. You can see some of these pieces behind me. Some of them are like very, very old. And I'm just like, my whole house is like that. It's not just here. It's just the whole house is like that.
Mhm.
But for me, I feel a connection to that time period, whether it's through lineage, family lines, whether it's just through past lives, whatever it is that gives me that drive. I'll sometimes go, God, I wish I could find one of these, because I'm an extensive been an extensive world traveler for a good part of my life. I've been to many castles and cathedrals, and I love the architecture. I am brain dead over Gothic arches. Like it's ridiculous.
I am too. I'm obsessed with that.
See, right?
It's got to be in the DNA.
It has to be. I
Yeah.
was in Rosslyn Chapel like this. I was
Oh,
there for hours. Like I loved it, But I travel many places like that. And I said, God, I wish I could find a piece similar to this. So I have a throne, ones that you can see right behind me.
oh, wow.
Very, very old. You can't see it all. But it's got like a Latin insignia on it, on the seat, everything. When it came to me is pretty much when I put it out there that I would be interested in finding something very unique of that nature, and it did. And I put it out there to even friends of mine who are collectors and so on. Nobody could find anything. They had a couple of close similarities that were in castles of Europe. Nothing as intricate as that. But it's not even just that. Sometimes it could be something as simple as, you know, God, I need to find, whatever the case may be, a fancy gate for my front walkway, and it's happened. And I find the universe is showing you examples, and then finally it gives you the right one as you narrow things down. It's just like all of a sudden when I was looking for one, I had gates all over the place. I'm just like, oh, great. I have a selection. It's just things like that. It's just little things. But I find that if you put it out there, you'll get it. And synchronicities.
Oh, yeah.
Synchronicities with names and numbers. And
there are no coincidences.
none.
The number thing, 1111 has been following me around since 2021. I'll book a trip. The flight number is 1111.
Right.
When I get someplace, the room is number 11 or 1111 or 1101, something like that.
Right.
It's just constant.
Right.
Everybody has numbers like that. Do you have specific numbers like that?
1111 is big for me, but I find I get all the numbers, 444, 333. I just get them. So I will look at what I'm doing at that specific time, and then I will go look at the representation of the number. And it's like, right on track. There were times where I was like, before my mother passed, I was going, she was about 5 hours away from me. And all of a sudden I see this big transport truck with my maiden name on the back of it. Other times, was one time I had just an issue with an individual who, we all have somebody in our lives who you're just like, oh, would you just go away somehow? Not in a bad way. I don't want to see anybody die, but you just really need to just get away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, there was a situation that was going on. And all of a sudden I saw that person's name, which was a very unusual name, on the back, again, of a transport truck. You can tell I spent a lot of time on the road.
Yeah.
I watched signs and truck, and it was right there in front of me. And I just sort of went, okay, let it go. And I did. I let it go, never looked back. And you just have to look at things for what they are. And sometimes the universe will beat the horse till it's dead like 10 times over until you get the message.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I think, things like that, if everybody would pay attention to the subtle things that are put in front of you that are not coincidences that you think is a coincidence,
right?
There could be a message there.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? I find that life gets so busy for us that how much are we missing?
I wonder that too. Because as we keep our minds so busy with things and work and study and TV shows that are meaningless,
right.
What are we missing out on? What can the universe tell us that would be beneficial for us? And I think we don't spend enough time meditating either.
It's true. I think the universe is pushing us around. I always say that if something is so hard in life and you feel like you're going uphill, I truly say it's the universe trying to push you into a different direction. And if you listen and stop fighting it and you change gears, all of a sudden things start getting easier. I think that's the universe's way of saying, look, you need to switch gears. Stop making it so hard for yourself. And I've done it, and I'm just like, I'm so stubborn, or I just don't see it. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I give up. I'm just not going to do that. And all of a sudden everything gets easier. It's like, okay, so it's me. It's been me the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If we pay attention, just learn to pay attention, things would go much easier for us.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm anxious to get into time, but we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're just going to devote the rest of the time about time travel. So Here we go. We'll be back right after this.
This September 6th through the 13th, join with like-minded souls in the experience of a lifetime on the Royal Caribbean Ovation of the Seas as we travel from Seattle to Alaska. Internationally renowned researchers, investigators, experiencers, authors, holistic healers, contactees, spiritual luminaries will sail on an extraordinary voyage of transformation. This cruise will explore UFOs, alien contact, cover-ups, ancient mysteries, the paranormal, holistic healing, and spirituality. Experience engaging lectures, one-on-one sessions, private, custom-tailored excursions, and a nightly UFO watch. The cruise is booking up fast. Go to contactatsea.com and be sure to mention the UNX Network when you book. That's contactatsea.com or phone 336 336-749-1219. That's 336-749-1219.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Unexplained News, and I'm your host, Margie K. We are talking about time anomalies this evening and time travel, and in particular, something that caught my eye a few weeks ago is the discovery of the Baron Trump novels that was actually discovered in 2017. They were very obscure before then, but they were published by, written by an American author and lawyer, Ingersoll Lockwood, in 1889 and 1893. The first novel, Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, in 1889. And then the sequel was Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey in 1893. The novels recount the adventures of a little German boy who goes by the name Baron Trump as he discovers weird underground civilization, offends the natives, flees from his entanglements with local women, and repeats his pattern until arriving back home at Castle Trump. And that is only the beginning, folks. We are speaking with Michelle Derochers this evening. And Michelle, do tell the rest of the story, please.
Oh boy. When I started just researching about this, back at the beginning of the year, I thought, I'd just like to do a show on this. So thank you. Now I get to do it.
Yeah.
But I just found like there was a certain amount of information, and then it just started getting really, really crazy the more I started digging into it. And you start cross-referencing things as I tend to do. But we also have to remember that, we can take out of it what we want. So Baron Trump, Baron and Dawn are both actually titles as well. So let's bear that in mind, just in case. So that may have been a twist, a twist that the author put in there. We don't know, right? But in the end, the story is actually about little Baron Trump, whose real name was William Heinrich Sebastian von Thump, and he went by Baron. So he ends up having this mentor named Dawn. A little bit out there, but it's a thing, right? Because we know that Donald Trump has a son named Baron. So okay, resemblance is a bit uncanny when the photo that you just showed is sort of like, okay. Because we talked about, you and I earlier, saying, did the author write this book 100 and something years ago? And did the family, just read this, as Donald Trump was growing up? Did he decide to name his child Barron after the story? We can get into all kinds of stuff, right? But if you think about it, when you look at the fact that Donald Trump has this all took place in Russia. He's got a really good friendship with Putin. So Putin's companion, shall we say, at the time, was best friends with Donald Trump's daughter. So we know there's a connection. We know that Donald Trump's wife, Melania, comes from Slovenia. So there's a lot in that whole area, right? We know that there's a whole lot, that goes on in that area. Like there's a connection, shall we say. So when you go on to all of that and all of these adventures, you're thinking, okay, there's something there. So I found the books personally a bit difficult to read. So I delved into them, right? Anybody else out there? Yeah. So you have to be really interested to get through these, believe me. Shakespeare might be an easier read, at least for me. But when you get into the book, like The Last President, you have this wealthy man who lives over on Fifth Avenue, New York, decides to run for president. And, of course, by now, Trump doesn't live in a castle or a hotel. It's basically, at Fifth Avenue in New York, which is Trump Tower, right? So remember, this book was written like, 125 years ago, somewhere in there. Anyway, so the story goes, this man, nobody expected him to win. He gets inaugurated, starts selecting a cabinet, and ends up choosing somebody else we all know of, Mr. Pence, which is also interesting. So, you have a mix going on here, which are really, like we say, we don't believe in coincidence per se, but I don't know, it keeps getting weird. So Nikola Tesla, there's a connection to Nikola Tesla. And when Nikola Tesla passed away, government went in there, took all of his possessions, went through his inventions and theories, things like that. And I'll get into why in a moment. And it all went to this office called the Office of Alien Property, which is alien isn't foreign. Like it's not aliens as in grays, but
right
back then, right? They weren't talking that sort of stuff back then. But what I found interesting was, long story short, they really looked at everything, didn't know what it all was. They handed it over to the FBI. FBI hired this guy from MIT who happened to be John G. Trump, the late uncle of President Trump.
Yeah.
It's like a physicist, so he's the right guy to look through everything.
Yeah.
So some of these boxes go missing. They believe that there were so many boxes and crates of stuff, and only a portion of it came back. And from what I understand, a lot of it, the family fought to get the rest of it back and got it back, that sort of thing. But now the conspiracy goes, well, did John Trump lie to the government saying, oh, this is harmless, we don't need it, so he could keep his hands on some of this stuff? It's very possible. So let's examine Nikola Tesla for a minute, okay? Nikola Tesla was known, obviously, for all of his incredible inventions. He had a huge interest in the stars, and he understood about time travel and didn't agree with Einstein on everything. But what he did do, and we know, is that he worked on the Philadelphia experiment. And this is in war times beside that, right? Which is like in 1943. So everybody knows the USS Elbridge was a Navy class destroyer, and it actually went invisible, and they figured because of a cloaking device. Nikola Tesla was said to have been involved in this because he performed all the calculations and developed various designs and provided the necessary generators to make this happen. And we know it went wrong, right? We know, the whole thing went wrong. It did disappear, but when it came back, there were people stuck in the walls and body parts stuck on the walls, and it was just a bit of a nightmare.
Horrific.
Situation. Right, it was. Some people will say that never happened at all, but we know that there was interest, and he developed the telephone to the dead sort of idea before, shall we say, his counterpart did, and it was to communicate with extraterrestrials. He was fascinated with it. He was fascinated with it. And he did. He claimed that he heard things that came back to him, to who he believed anyway were beings from the stars. So I don't know. The connection is there. Tesla had the know-how to do it. So did he? Didn't he? But if let's go a little bit further about President Trump. His mother's name apparently, and again, guys, I just found this one article, so don't shoot the messenger. I've tried to cross-reference this. I'm sure it's all out there, but this was just sort of a throw-in that I found in the end. Mother's name apparently was Mary. Father's middle name was Christ. You'd have to be pretty devout to do that, but maybe not. But what's even more interesting is on his birthday, which is apparently June 14th, 1946, it was marked by a total lunar eclipse.
Yeah, that's just bizarre.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. You hear stories of time travel. Is it possible? Sure. There would be a lot of technicalities involved with that, but it's possible. I mean, you look at who was the name of that? That they believed he was an extraterrestrial. John Titor, Titor.
Oh yeah.
And considered to be like the most famous of travelers who allegedly came from the year like 2030 or 2035, somewhere in and around there. And he came here to like assist the world. And he was all over the place. I mean, people photographed this guy, people talked with this guy, and then all of a sudden he signed off after about 4 months, and was never seen again and said, I'm going back home. Never seen again.
Yeah.
So there are stories upon stories of time slips. I remember reading about a woman, my heart went out to her. She woke up, and this is a total, like, what happened? How did she slip in there? She went to bed one night wearing one pair of pajamas, woke up the next morning wearing a different pair of pajamas in her apartment that looked completely different. She was engaged to a man for 7 years, couldn't find him. It's like he didn't exist. And he basically went to her job, same building, looked different, and has been searching ever since. I think she actually put out a reward saying to anybody who can figure this out and get me home.
I remember reading about that.
Right?
That is bizarre.
That's trippy.
Now, I read that there was a group of time travel enthusiasts who included Tesla and Donald Trump's uncle and the heir to the Post fortune who lived in Florida and Mar-a-Lago.
Of course.
Did you dig into that?
Right?
Of course.
Connect the dots, right, Margie?
Yes.
Right. So
if all of these people were having secret meetings about time travel, and then this Mar-a-Lago gets built, the woman built it, and she said purposely the only reason she built it is so it would be a summer home for the presidents. And then look who ends up buying it later, long after her passing.
Right.
And it's a summer home for a president. I mean, I may now
connect the dots
now. There's just too much.
Right?
There's
connect the
too
dots.
much. Yeah. It's weird. It's almost as if his entire life was pre-planned.
Yes.
And he's going down this journey. I mean, including this attempted assassination that just happened. One person, posted, if he was a time traveler and he knew that was going to happen, maybe he turned away at just the right moment so that he would not get hit by the bullet. I mean, that's a wild, crazy theory, but you put it all together and you've got a crazy mix.
Well, you do. And I find that all of this Trump traveler stuff started surfacing again after that attempted assassination. It just sort of went kind of crazy snowballing effect. And I like to see people's views on it. Like, what people think. It's so diverse. Some people are so like eyeball deep into it. They're like, yes, this is a thing. But other people are like, oh my God, absolutely not. This is you're looking at apophenia. You could see anything that you want out of all of this. It's not a thing. They're not, gives rise to conspiracy theories, I guess. But I don't know. CIA invented the word conspiracy theory because they didn't want us to know when we were onto something. So that was just in the 70s. So, I mean, technically speaking, I think anything is possible. It's definitely real. I'll tell you, I know of two people personally when they were kids who were, and they're almost exactly the same. These two people do not know each other. They are now both adults. Both have a story that when they were outside playing at their home with their siblings or friends, because they're two different guys here, that all of a sudden they were running around the house and they couldn't see anybody. They could hear their family members or their friends, but they couldn't see them. And like hours had passed to the parents, they found out, but they just ran around the house the other way. So how would they know to run around the house the other way? Oh. And all of a sudden they were back. 2 cases, 2 people that I know of. And I'm just like, how did not ever tell me this before? They're like, oh, it's crazy. My parents thought I was gone for like 3 hours. I'm like, again, how did I not know this before now?
Okay, that's too coincidental because, long story short, my oldest daughter, was running around the house chasing her younger sister, and she disappeared for 45 minutes. No one could find her. And then suddenly she comes running around the corner and stopped dead in her tracks. And because she realized that her sister was not where she should have been, right in front of her. And we explained we had been looking for her and we're getting ready to call the police. What happened? That was running around the house. Okay.
Right. See right there. Yes. There is something to all this. There are so many stories that I ended up doing a whole other show on this. I used to do a show called The Gray Zone Uncensored with Joe. And it was a 3-parter, 6 hours of stuff. That's how much information I found. And stories that go back, like people from like the 1800s and early 1900s, people that one guy was stuffed in some tube when they found him. It was just like, what is this? And it turned out that it was like a government working with secret program, and it just went wrong. Like there are crazy amounts of stories that are out there, and there were newspaper clippings with this. It's not like this was just a story. There were actual newspaper clippings attached to this. Unknown male, blah, 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 blah. I'm just like, what? This is insane. Because if you think about the whole time travel thing and, altering like the history of the moment by being in the same space, let's say, as yourself or within a different time, like, but then you go back to the times of the Bible and they put it right in the Bible. There are many dimensions within the kingdom sort of thing. Like there's stuff that goes back that it shows you multiverses and just dimensional, interdimensional, like multidimensional. I mean, you can get into so much stuff. Why is it like maybe we're just tapping in? It's easy, as you know, a remote view, we tap into places. It's you just do it. But how do you physically do it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. It gets into interdimensional timeline differences. Well, you just walk on a different timeline, like the lady who suddenly has in her life everything has changed.
Right.
Is another part of you, is the other you on the other timeline wondering what the heck is going on at the same time.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one. Because, I mean, what do you do? What happens if you meet yourself? Yeah. And have you guys ever heard of the chronovisor?
No. What is that?
Okay, the chronovisor is, well, it's a device that its nickname is the Vatican time machine. But apparently this is relatively new in the grand scheme of things, like 1950s, and it's surfaced up again in the 1980s. But They allegedly own this time travel device which can photograph the past. So there are photos out there of Jesus Christ, 2 different occasions, walking around, and they've got him. It's
What?
crazy. They can't really explain it. So the team that put it together in the 50s. Okay, I'm just bringing up my notes so I can read you the exact stuff here. Okay, in the 50s were a dedicated team of scientists who have remained anonymous. The team included 2 physicists, Enrico Fermi and Pellegrino Ameti. Okay, Enrico was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1938 for his demonstration of existence of a new radioactive elements produced by neutron irradiation, discovery of nucleus, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole lot of things about neutrons. Anyway, the device allegedly photographed and verified the existence of Jesus Christ and his crucifixion. And there are theories that the coronavirus was shared with the Nazi Party during the war, and it's no secret that they had close ties with the Vatican. So allegedly now there are other organizations, because I've interviewed people who follow this kind of stuff. And when I say, have you researched the coronavirus? They went, what? And researched the coronavirus, but they took it even further because apparently there's this whole organization now that have their own version of the coronavirus because they're trying to counteract. Apparently the powers that be are trying to use this thing to create and alter things for us as a living. So they put things out ahead of time to warn you about what the other guys are going to do because they're using it to look into it.
Okay.
Did you see my mind going?
Okay. Yes. The far reaching. Yes. I know the symbol for that.
It's gone, Margie.
Yeah. Some people talk about the Hadron Collider.
Yes.
And how it is altering time. And some believe that they have already put the Earth on a different timeline by using this. And the whole story behind that is bizarre.
Yes. Yes, I know. So which timeline did we slip into?
Right. Hopefully we slipped into the good one.
I don't know.
Where we have a happy ending.
I'm like, I know. You know. I think I want to go back to the other one. Because his life just seems simpler then.
Oh. Okay. How do you spell that fancy time camera is the question.
Okay, I'm going to put it up for you guys right now. Okay, I'm just going to put it up. Hold on.
All
right.
Righty.
Copy and paste it right here. Hold on. There you go. Have fun, kids. Let me know what you find. so that's in the comments. I should be coming across yours.
Okay.
Okay, good. And I know that I've had Frank Jacob on the show a couple of times. And when I sent him photos and stuff, he was just like, what? And now he's got this whole presentation on. He's mind blowing. Guys, he's brilliant at it, and a lot of these type of guys now are getting in there. They're paying attention. And it's interesting stuff. If anything, it's worthy of a research.
Oh yeah. Most definitely. And I know I am going to be researching that further.
Just go look up coronavirus, Jesus Christ, and click on images.
Okay. Wow.
It comes up there. I know. It's fun.
Well, we just went down a whole different path than I planned on, Michelle. I thought we were going to talk about Trump all night.
I think it's all connected. I really do. Yeah. Thanks to Tesla. I do. They knew. He knew.
I think Tesla was an ET. Look at his bone structure. And the fact that he said that he got information by listening to music, and the messages came in on the music to him, and then he was able to develop these marvelous things. Many, I don't know how many patents he had. It just seems so out of the norm, so much further advanced than the rest of humanity. It'd be crazy if he wasn't an ET.
Okay. If you go into the FBI vault, okay, it's a website. They have papers there that clearly say, and you got a bunch of stuff blacked out in them and stuff, that clearly say that Nikola Tesla was Venusian from Venus. They were a technology-based race.
Yeah.
Okay. And that he was brought to the Tesla family, and that for years that the Venusian people would come and check on him and so on. That's in the FBI vault papers.
Well, there you go. There you
I
go.
can send it to you if you like, because I
Yeah, no, I have access
okay,
to
good.
that.
Good.
Yeah.
So find that. Nikola Tesla, Venusian. So
Yeah, and
I
there
don't
are other
know.
people too. Oh my gosh.
I
Okay,
know.
we've got 5 minutes, Michelle. What do you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh. What
I'll
don't we
leave it
want to
open
talk
to
about,
you.
Margie? When's that 2-hour show starting?
And,
Oh my
the
gosh.
end of September is the 2-hour show, and I'll bring you back.
Excellent. Excellent. I think that anything is possible. I think that time travel is an incredible thing. I think that we live in an age where we have to question everything. Question everything, because things are going to start unfolding. And I really believe, we are in an age of whistleblowers. And some of
Mhm.
these people are disappearing. Some of these people are having their lives ruined. Some of these people are just, whatever the case may be. I truly believe that we're in an age where people are waking up a little bit because they want more answers than what we're being given. And right now, we have a wealth of information. The books haven't been burned yet. Go check them out, right? And we still have access to these great
Mhm.
online resources, and just don't hesitate to ask questions, because, man, oh man, it's phenomenal stuff. Don't give up. Find it. Let's look into what we've all learned tonight from each other. Chronovisor.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know what I'm going to be doing right after the show. More investigating. I
Right.
want to see that chronovisor.
Yeah, it's
You know
wild.
what? Well, I'll just say this real quick. I did develop a very, very simple way to speak to the dead. You get a small fan and you put a tube in front of it, like a flue liner, or a connecting pipe, and put that to it. And for some reason, that draft that's created by the fan, or
Mhm.
you can sit next to a chimney because of the draft,
See, so it
and
has to do with the draft.
contact the other side. Voices have come through.
See, I'm going to validate you. I have
Okay.
worked with many people, hundreds, thousands of people throughout 20 years of just working within the field of the paranormal, right?
Mhm.
People have things going on. And I cannot tell you how many people I have spoken to through the years that have said, whenever I have the fan on at night, I seem to be able to hear them very clearly. Even
Mhm.
spirits in the house would use it as an avenue of being able to project their
Yeah.
voices, but it's almost like having a white noise also. So I completely
Yeah.
think that what you're saying is bang on with that. Even music. I've heard
Oh, yeah.
music like when my mom was on the verge of passing away for 2 straight weeks. I was hearing all kinds of music, choirs, Viking chanting. Like, I mean, you name it, I heard it. When she passed away, I had never heard it since. And a friend of my mother's, who is a medium, had said to her, she says, the angels were singing for you. The choirs I heard were bringing me to tears. I've never heard anything like it, and I never have since she passed away.
Oh my.
During the
Wow.
day, everything. But when the fan was on, it was almost like I was right in the room with them. So yes, your theory.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
I discovered it when we were doing a contact seance, if you
Right.
will.
Yes.
And we heard voices come through the vent of the furnace. And I thought, well, I wonder if I can just do this. And yeah, it worked. So
Fantastic, isn't it?
yeah.
Simple tool, and there it is.
Yeah. And there they
Oh.
are on the other side in another dimension. And that's a way to contact. So now if we can only get this time travel thing worked out where we can safely travel back in time, what do you think you'd do if you saw yourself, Michelle, if you time travel?
Oh, I'd be chastising myself, saying, "What were you thinking when you did this?
Uh-huh.
You need to just not do that." So, that's what I would do. I would try to educate my younger self, or if it was current, I'd be just like trying to, this is what's going to happen. Would you want to know? There's a question for you, Margie. If you
Yeah.
met your future self, would you want to know what was in store for you? Or
Yeah,
would you?
I would. I
Yeah.
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Heck with altering the continuum.
The heck
Just
with
jump
that.
in with both feet. I love it.
Oh gosh.
love
All right. Well, time has flown by too quickly.
That was great.
We're going to have to arrange things for you to come back after I get my 2-hour show
Thank
going.
you.
We are going to start that at the end of next month. And Race Hobbs is going to be joining me for the second half. It's going to be called XL. So extra long.
Love it.
For extra long.
I love it.
But thank you so much for joining me tonight, Michelle. It's been a lot
Pleasure.
of fun.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
All right, folks. We'll see you here again next week, right here on X Network.